Henderson Reed, to talk to us about the rezoning project. Jason has requested a few minutes of our time today as well. Then we're on the floor and then. All right. On the minutes. On the bills.
Nothing stuck out to me. He just gave me the vote and paid for it.
Okay.
I got it. It was in regards to a vehicle, the buy. I just talked to the chief. Once and he said they traded in, to offset the cost. Healthcare program, I asked him what the MERP is, MERP, right, asked him about that. Satisfied, doors, two doors cost $6,800. Fire headquarters, understandable.
Well, it's covered under a grant, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I inquired about the heating at Kohler Pool was 9 something, right?
Yeah, $900 right?
$900.
April 25. And then I
April
gave you-
25 to them.
I wrote it
I
here.
thought it was a month, like, well, holy crap,
Oh,
somebody better get over here, turn that thermostat
That
down.
was, well, that was for 1 month, and then the year-to-date cost is written on that sticky there too.
Okay. Got it.
any more questions on it?
No, thank you,
Sir
sir.
wants it.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Okay.
Adam, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So. Let me pull it up here. On the bills, I submitted the bill, it was like $27.19 for the cemetery sign.
Mhm.
And it came out of one of the accounts, and I was talking to Ron, and he said we have 2 accounts, correct? One's for like donations that come in, and one's for the money the city gives us,
We have a budget line,
okay?
and then we have a custodial and maintenance account, which is basically, since they're not set up as their own nonprofit. They
Yeah.
operate as a nonprofit under the city, so they can still give people their, like tax deductions and everything and take donations. So we hold that money for use for the cemetery. We have a bunch of custodial and maintenance funds, like we have one for the DARE program, et cetera, et cetera.
So one of the things that Ron brought to me, one of the reasons why they were soliciting through fundraising efforts to get money into the city was if. Let's say we had a volunteer work day, and he said, I'm gonna put a box of cigars out there for all the volunteers that are mowing lawns, want to smoke a cigar. We can't use city funds to buy a box of cigars, that wouldn't be debatable, so we had a donation account where he could go get a box of cigars, but he said he spoke to you and you said you wouldn't be able to use that separate account for. Those expendable items. Is there a is it the same restrictions on the donation account of the funds they've raised versus what the city's given them?
So we can talk to the attorneys as well, but in my opinion, yes, it's the same city money. If he wanted to go out and start his own nonprofit, separate from the city, the city gives him authorization to go run the nonprofit, then he can spend it on whatever he wants. But the money that he is fundraising is ultimately the city's money because the city cemetery nonprofit is the city's. It's not a separate entity from the city. It's the same city money.
So using that scenario where he went out and created that nonprofit to benefit the cemetery, would the city carry the liability insurance on that, or would he have to go get his own? Like, would he still be able to do work in the
Yeah,
cemetery as a
I'm
nonprofit?
not the decision maker on that. That would be up to council
Jointly,
there
they make their own.
on what you guys would want to do.
Okay. Because that was his concern, is that they're raising, it's pretty much the same fund then, it should just be all be one fund.
So the way I think about it is that if they don't spend the full $5,000 out of their budget,
Yeah.
then they don't get that money. So in 24, I think they spent about $4,400.
Okay.
So that money goes back to the,
So the 600 was lost.
it just wasn't spent. I don't
It
know
was,
what
went back to the general,
Exactly,
where the fundraised money can sit there for 10 years.
exactly.
And
It's
no
in a
one can
perpetual-
take it back.
It's in a perpetual account.
That's
that
why.
doesn't get closed out year over year. So that's why it's almost to his advantage to spend the budget lines first, because and this, I've had the same.
Well, that's why it got, right.
And I said, it's to your advantage to spend your budget line first. I do the same thing with the homeless task force too.
Right.
We spend their budget line first before we start touching their CMO, because the budget line won't was set.
Yeah, and I saw like their ones like they were buying like bus passes and stuff, and so as I saw, I go, oh, it's just the same thing, like my sign came out of some weird account, and go,
Yeah,
why is this?
Yeah.
So that's why it is, budget lines, and got it,
yes,
okay,
exactly.
that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions on the bills? Who wants it? Any questions on this resolution? So I thought, well, number one, vendor spelled wrong, so we heard that. I thought their concern. Did we have another meeting with them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Last week.
Yep.
Okay.
I had 3 meetings.
Thank you.
I was here, they just struck the last line of 6 where it talked about cleaning of porta potties.
But this says they still have to do it.
No,
Yes.
it maintained the portable bathroom unit, it doesn't say they actually have to clean, I think the last one specifically said cleaning
Specifically say
supplies.
clean, but they're shared with the
What's the difference in maintaining it?
Maintaining means pay, have the vendor come out, have the vendor suck out the sanitation solution. Make sure they're maintained.
We have a vendor that does that, they do it twice a week, so they don't have to touch that, so. What they were doing was, the verbiage on it was cleaning the bathrooms, period, which means the hard bathrooms, which are shared with soccer, the softball people. Those guys are in there all the time, so they do not responsibility of doing that, so we took it off and put it only on a porta john, which makes sense.
What does it
I just
maintain
think
now?
the wording should be.
Right.
We took the wording maintaining it, so when they go in there, we've had this issue where they go in on a Monday morning. And it was destroyed over the weekend, kids have thrown sticks in there and flooded it, whatever. To maintain it would be to call the vendor, say to the vendor, we need to get you out here to fix this earlier. If there was a cost incurred, it would go on, they split it 50%. That's how they're maintaining it. The old verbiage said clean with cleaning supplies, indicating they actually had to go in and clean the porta potty, which is very unsanitary. Because they're not equipped with that type of equipment, rubber gloves, whatever
Right,
else they
right.
need. So that's where the verbiage change came in. I was just more of a presence in the room that was hashed out between the mayor's office and TFC. I'm happy with it, they were happy with it, I don't, mayor's happy.
So if someone comes in and graffitis it, TFC has to pay 50% of the cost.
They'll pay 50% of anything that's done
Everything.
above and beyond the normal cleaning that the company comes in and does. Now, if they come in a toilet paper all over the place, they've got rolls and rolls of toilet paper, they'll pick it up and put new toilet paper on yourself, that's maintaining, that's all.
Okay, and then good,
Oh, they're fine, yeah. Okay.
and the term of this is forever.
Let it run, yep.
That's it.
They're supposed to have one in existence and we can't find one, Mario, you look, we cannot find one anywhere. There's supposed to be a 99-year agreement, as long as they're there satisfying our city. Children, we should have a problem. Once
Okay.
they go out and they're not doing their business no more, and if their kids aren't involved, then they lose their lease.
Because our agreement with Tall is five years.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's all, can make it or break it, that's not their field, they using that field for a period of 5 years. So their senior division may book in 2 years, and then they can get out of it, but football's been here. I'm gonna go anywhere, it's the only football program we have.
67 years ago. with that.
Oh, yeah, no, I just wanna make sure that they're good with the word,
Yeah.
the language of maintaining.
Yeah,
The
no,
board,
we're good,
yeah.
and they're good with it too.
All right, you wanna do council level? What's that?
I said, I think that's a good idea.
Resolution 4. Okay. This is in response to our public hearing, so it did change. Jim, you're on the traffic and safety board. Do you know why they opted not to?
They just thought there was no need for it. That's all I know, you know, and I got it, well. This was Mr. Fisher put the one in about blocking the driveway. On Loretta.
Oh, Loretta,
Yeah,
yeah.
Loretta, the driveway, and it sort of left a bad taste in the people, remember? And this is, you know, the gentleman's doing what he thinks best for his water, and I can't do anything about that. But it was, they didn't like it. Pardon?
That's separate and apart from.
Yeah, right, but that, I'm just giving you a reason why that.
Just give me the background of why traffic safety has an adversarial relationship with the second word.
I can't smooth it over, I'll try again. Don't know what to say, you know. But. I don't
So
think-
they just opted not to hear it because
They
Councilman
opted.
Fisher submitted it,
I
or?
can't say that, but who submitted it? Said,
Well, we submitted one, I just communicated with Stephen today that the one on Canton in front of North Dunwell Crane was actually a light 20 feet ahead as the stop. And if you go through the light, people go through the light and then make a right on red, and that's wrong, because they're actually going through the red light to get to the stop. So I checked in the last meeting we had, and accepted them. They accepted that one, but now I got a DOT letter and Mike was turned down by the DOT to change the zoning or the, miles per hour under 30, he wanted 25. And he said, no, it will not be 25. So I got that back from the DOT. So what Mike wants, sometimes he's not gonna get, but I agree on, and they agreed, so now we gotta find out through Mike what we can do to change it with no right on red right there. You should not be making a right on red there.
That's going northbound, right?
That's going northbound. If you're going right on red, you're actually going through the stoplight. So that right on red will happen. I just gotta find out through Mike how we can
That's
do
right.
that.
State, yeah. Try to work it out.
Okay, so they had no legal basis or
No,
no.
they didn't seem this needed at all.
Okay.
Let's not, no standing.
But we've determined that it is needed.
Well, we had a public hearing where we heard from 3 residents, 2 of which were very for it. They wanted it longer. 1 resident who was for it, but wanted it shorter. We originally went with 100 feet and we scaled it back to 79 feet. Because that abuts to the person who wanted it shortened driveway on the opposite side. His house is on the west side. This would be on the east side. This would then push the parking back. So when he backs out of his driveway, there'd still be a no standing zone. As the plows, fire trucks, other vehicles make the right to go from westbound to northbound on Dexter, there would be a clear path. This is similar to what we did on Scott Street last year, when we had Scott Street from Young, was only a 25-foot push, and everyone said, hey, can we move this back? And we went to 120 feet, and all the residents were very excited about that. This is the same thing. Right now, there's parking end to end. Except for on the east side, there is a fire hydrant, so it gives about a 15-foot buffer. But other than that, there's no protection. They're parking on both sides of the street. It appears that from the residents, it appears that Franco's is telling all their employees park on Dexter so they can free up the parking lot. So when you have major Bills games, Super Bowl, that street Dexter from corner to corner is just packed with cars. It's all the employees. So this alleviates that problem for those residents.
Any questions on that? Okay, special event application for the back to school bash, so we can. Any questions? Said yes?
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right. Executive
I do, it's very short. Yes.
purpose, personnel,
Personal.
particular person or persons,
Personal.
It's like you went up and down.
how many minutes? How many you need?
Hey,
Jackie? Keep it 5.
correct.
All right, I'll make a motion to go to executive session for personnel of a particular person.
I'll say. That means we leave.
Behind me.
We're on the
All
clock.
in favor?
Yeah.
So Mr. Bush, your name?
I have that phone.
No, this is the next one. This is. This one got a ticket, it's too close to the hydrant. What they're doing, is this car similar to this normally parks here, so they can beat the hydrant, and when you come in here, you have to swing out wide, you can't see, and when the car comes this way.
All right, ready?
Are we out, Mario?
I'm sorry?
Turn off.
Sorry.
Camera down.
Court documentation.
Oh, it's been on for a long time. I think they need to find people for 6.
You get support documentation needed.
Was that 8 minutes?
No,
We had
time.
5.
It was not covered again.
You should be coming in.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Justin.
How are you doing?
How are you? You, come forward at the desk, the table. All right, thanks for joining us. I know you have some handouts for us.
Yes, so I'll, the time is a little bit shorter, so I will make a abbreviated version of this for you guys. But yeah. Pass around just like in school. And everybody got, Alright. So, I will, but one more. No, there we go. Alright. Alright, so real quick for those who don't know me, Justin Steinbach, I'm a planning project manager with CPL. And we got hired by you guys to work on your zoning code updates. So I put together kind of a brief presentation. Again, I won't go through it in its entirety, but you guys can take a look through it, but at least just wanted to just kind of touch on what the project entails, just to make sure that you guys are familiar with it, where we are in the grand scheme of things with it, and kind of where we're going to as far as things go. I was hoping to actually have this meeting to be able to kind of get some initial thoughts from all of you guys too, as far as any kind of pros and cons, pitfalls and whatnot in terms of the zoning code. We wouldn't have time for that one, but you know, by all means, you guys can afterwards we can talk, or you guys can also follow up with me via email if you'd like. But the basic premise of it is that again, you guys have a number of great planning documents between the comp plan, LRP, Niagara Street study. You got all these community-based documents that you put together. So now it's taking those community-driven policy documents and translating them into an updated zoning code. Which I'm sure you guys well know that your code is antiquated. It's got some parts of it that needs some improvements made to it. So that's what we're hoping to do, is kind of again, take the planning documents and translate it into zoning updates. And you know, we're doing that first off by having some roundtable discussion with some of the different department heads. So far, we've met with mayor's office, talked with Sean, we've talked with engineering, code enforcement, DBA. I think we have planning board that we're still gonna be talking with the chair. And the idea behind it basically is just to try to find out all the different viewpoints as far as what everyone where everyone sees, again, those sticking points in the process, where they see any issues with the code, so that we know what we need to focus in on, in addition to doing our own deep dive review of the code as well. So our schedule basically is to be between now and about October thereabouts. Page 7, we've got a kind of a schedule of our work plan, at least, is to continue to have these interviews, get the feedback, also have a little more of a roundtable discussion with some of the external users. So folks from the Chamber of Commerce, LDC, realtors, developers, kind of bring them to the table and just kind of ask them, you know, where do you see from using the code outside of the, you know, on the outside of City Hall, where do you guys see as some of those issues? We want to get as many perspectives as we possibly can to understand what we need to do to help you guys update the code. And so using all of that information, reviewing the plans, that, you know, we've actually had a pretty big hand in helping the city help develop those. And kind of getting all these perspectives together, putting together this analysis document that kind of identifies these are the priority areas that we need to kind of really focus in on more than anything else when it comes to the code. And then proceed from that right into doing actual updates to the code itself. And all this falls in line with Department of State funding that you guys got. So we're just kind of carrying out the work plan as that portion of it, and just making sure that we follow a very methodical process in terms of what we're doing. As I kind of mentioned, as we're on kind of page 8, we've had interviews with folks. A couple more pending, taking a look at the code itself in terms of its structure, the processes, the authority, district uses, just kind of getting a real broad-based idea of how the code is. And then we're also looking at the different plans, again, like I mentioned, just to make sure that we establish conformance between the community-based planning documents and the code. So page 9 just kind of shows what kind of our future steps are and what we've done thus far. That kind of leads again to that schedule in terms of having our analysis wrapped up by about fall and jumping right into the code updates themselves. And hopefully by about this time, next year, we'll have the code fully updated for you guys to, take a look at and, do the processes that you guys need to do as far as seeker, kind of review, public hearing, so on and so forth. I should mention too, that mixed within that time period, we are gonna have a couple of different opportunities for some public meetings, some public outreach. In order to make sure that the community knows what is entailed with this whole process and to kind of give them the opportunity to, give their input on what is or what is not working within the code. And some more strategic areas in terms of maybe some design ideas that we can incorporate in. Or other kind of, issues as we go through our analysis and find out. That was a lot. I know I tried to kind of cram it into a short amount of time, but, just wanted to ask real quick if you guys had any questions about kind of the process.
Are we on schedule time wise with the award from the state? What do they gotta be watching saying, hey, we got X amount of time before we're gonna start moving on this. The docks are gonna start moving first, the parking has to start.
Yeah.
To put those out to bid.
Well, I know, Ben Vidal at DOS is managing
Yeah.
both of them, so he's in a good position to kind of see how both of these things are working. And so he's definitely gonna make sure that, that we're kept on track with things. I have shared with him the schedule of this project, and asked him, in terms of the VRI implementation portion of it, he didn't have any issues with it. So, obviously, as we continue to move along, we know it's, the schedule is critically important to the city with the projects that are going on. So we're gonna keep on top of it with our side of things. And, if we have to tighten it up a little bit at the end, we certainly will. So that's the kind of the overview of the project itself. The last page, it did have a couple of, general, questions to consider. Whether or not you're able to kind of look over these and, if you guys have any, thoughts or notions as far as the code goes from your guys' standpoint in the process. Again, I'd love to be able to hear them this evening, or you're more than welcome to. I can pass along my information. You guys are more than happy to reach out to me individually.
A little commentary.
Yeah.
I think it's, especially for people returning on the council, if this is going into next year. I think it's really important to be on top of this. It's got to dovetail into what's going on with the DRI and just building there. It's kind of dragged on a little too long as it is. It's frustrating to see that this could potentially go on until next year. But I appreciate that you guys are finally you're seeing some execution rather than talking about it. It's actually going in place. So thank you for that. This is stuff we've talked about since the Olympic piece. This all ties into this is important for having a certain amount of conformity to our downtown and to promote new businesses in the area. So I think I'm just kind of passing along. It deserves a lot of focus, or a lot of attention from the council over the next year to make sure this happens and happens properly. We have some input. I think it's key to any kind of growth in our downtown area. And as we look around, we're targeting the city to see it grow. We've been things that have been hodgepodge together for years that need to be more reinforced.
So that two-part question with that then.
Yeah.
This is independent of the DRI. This is the zoning as a whole.
Yeah.
Also, is this gonna correct the issue we have in our downtown area right now where we have a old mechanic shop / gas station? We have a tree cutting service that occupies what should be a beautiful restaurant or a corner.
Mhm.
And it's just got old dead trees they bring in from the streets and pile up there. Is this gonna correct that issue? Or is that gonna make them grandfathered in and we have to wait them out?
So that's an interesting one. So I will say that, in terms of the code update, when it comes to zoning, it's not necessarily if you build it, they will come kind of a thing. We will work to put the foundation in place to make those types of uses that you guys find undesirable, especially downtown. To make them hopefully either comply with the way the code is going to be rewritten, or to try to work them out, basically. Now, whether or not that ends up being an issue of pre-existing non-conforming and there's a certain time frame associated with it, I think those are, and we probably have to look at some of those a little bit more detailed to kind of find it out. But the end goal is to make sure that, you know, based on what we're hearing from all the different folks and from, you know, from, again, those planning documents, what's desired in downtown, and to make the code reflect what's desired so that those uses don't either continue or come in.
So I said that
It's gonna be a work in progress.
if we don't act on this, this
Yeah.
is just gonna continue to drag along. This is something that should have been done. It was initiated almost 10 years ago. It's been talked about. And because it hasn't been initiated, is why we see locations like that aren't appropriate in our downtown area, Main Street, and the other areas. This was never been acted on because there's been too much discourse on it, or not been enough of a priority, or for whatever reason. That's why it needs to be looked at.
Well, I disagree with that, because number one is it's been a problem since day one when we walked in the door. We inherited that. They bought that, and so it's a sale, so now they got somebody on that corner, both corner owned by the same guy. We went after him through Mike Rule. There's nothing we can do because he's grandfather. Until he walks out of that shop, then the new rule will come into place, changing the zoning. You can't touch him. That's why he's been untouchable right now. There's nothing we can do. We did not put them there. You did not put them there. You did not put them there, but they're there because whoever was administration before that, whatever, they're there, they're not moving. So legally, I can't get rid of them until we have him move out, and then the new, we'll just say, great, now here's your new zoning restrictions. You can't have this, you can't have this, you can't have this, you gotta have this, more greenery, some shrubbery out front, a certain percent. That's what we're gonna correct right now.
Yeah, and the reason I asked it is because this particular corner where we have a tree company, even if we were to invest the money to fix the sidewalk, they're driving 5 and 10 ton
I
truck.
won't touch
You
that.
can't
till he's
touch
gone. Exactly.
it. We would just be wasting money on concrete that's gonna get cracked
That's
based
why
on the
we didn't
usage.
touch.
But I mean, yeah, it looks like a good plan to.
Yeah.
To start.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the one saving grace to your point is that this can't be something that's just talked about because of the grant funding that you guys have. It has to be done. So there has to be the analysis, but there has to be the code out there. So it will happen. And because you guys got the funding and the work plan that says it has to. So we will make it happen, definitely. And it's, you know, there's been a lot of pieces of the puzzle that have been done already between the C2 district, waterfront, and so on and so forth. So now it's just kind of taking all those puzzle pieces, putting them together, and along with other updates that we've heard about, making all those different things happen. So that's, you know,
A perfect example
Yes.
is Kaluba now one part of that, good portion of that DRI.
Mhm.
So he is off the footprint. Now we gotta change our zoning a little bit to include his down there. So there is gonna be some adjustments for good things that are happening.
absolutely.
We'll adjust things and move forward.
Absolutely, and selfishly, I've been working with the city. I've worked with the past administration with the comp plan, LRB, and a lot of these planning projects. And to be able to see planning go to something solid for zoning, to have something happen. I love seeing that. You know, I want to be able to take all the work that you guys have worked on city overall and actually have it to, you know, make something happen. So I'm happy to see it. Definitely, and selfishly, I'm excited. So. But again, if you guys have any, anything that you want to share as far as these questions, you want to talk with me, my phone's open anytime for you guys.
Our emails are on the third page of the handout as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great day.
It's been talking about, we did, take care.
Who's Jason out there? Oh, he's in here. All right, Jason, come on in.
Thanks.
Chief one looking for you.
Oh,
Chief, we found him. Okay.
Couple of sidewalk things that came up that is guidance on, or what your guys' thoughts are. First one is, we had the issues, in multiple locations where people have trees that are privately owned on private property that are lifting city sidewalks. So we had talked and Mike had drafted up a letter, and one of the things in the letter that said that there was discussion, let's just put it that way, nothing's decided obviously until we talk to you. Discussion of possibly giving them some economic incentive to take the tree down. So you've got this big tree that a private resident owns, obviously we can't use our own forces to take it down, it's on private property and there's liabilities associated with that. This letter is gonna ask the residents to take it down, if they don't, we could remove the concrete, put blacktop in, it's not a great solution, because you're still gonna have grease pushing the blacktop. We can tell them you have to take it down at your own expense, period, if you're damaging the sidewalk. Or we can offer like a lump sum payment. We initially discussed doing like a percentage of the total cost of removal, but that's too much of a blank check to me. You know what I mean? We say we're gonna do, we'll offer to pay half. Well, then somebody comes in and says, oh, it's gonna be $20,000 to take down the street. So, the mayor had made a suggestion with dividing it up into two different sizes. With a, trees like a 50-inch circumference or greater, would be like $1,000 to assist with the cost of taking the tree down. Under that would be $500. I think that's kind of arbitrary. As long as we have a rule and we apply to everybody, it's fine. I'm talking dollar amounts, or again, deciding not to offer any incentive. But I just wonder what your guys' thoughts are on that.
What's our protection if we offer the incentive, they take it, and then they don't cut the tree down?
But we wouldn't give the incentive.
So they have to get reimbursed, so they're gonna have to front the $3,000-4,000.
Yeah.
Because it's very expensive to cut down these trees.
Yeah.
Very.
Or also continue to replace sidewalks.
Well,
Well, no, we're gonna put, we're not gonna replace the sidewalk at all, we're gonna put we're gonna rip this concrete, estimate the concrete, blacktop it. And we're gonna leave the blacktop until the time where they remove their tree. Do we send them a bill for the blacktop? Do we send them a bill for the blacktop or no? Is their tree damaged?
I don't know really a mechanism for that.
It's not a mechanism. You don't charge homeowners for concrete sidewalks, and you think they're charging.
Well, what if the homeowner caused the damage to the concrete sidewalk?
Oh, we can sue them.
So technically, every tree that ruined the sidewalk, we have to sue them.
We have to sue everybody. That's.
Because they're gonna sue on it, what incentive do I have, you know what, it doesn't bother me, so I'm gonna leave it there because. It's hurting the sidewalk, I'm gonna pay that.
Right, so we have to get some type of incentive to motivate.
And it's not just a safety issue for the resident walking down the street that has a trip hazard.
It's a minimum cost of 50-inch circumference is a tree like this.
Yeah.
If you take it down, you're talking $70,000 easy.
If we just went ahead and did it, and we cut through the buttress roots and then the tree falls. It's another liability for us, so we can't
It's a
do anything until the
liability.
tree is down and it's.
Or if we turn sidewalks back over to residents, then people can actually, that it becomes their problem.
We still have to mitigate the sidewalk though, so we still have to mitigate the sidewalk.
Not those.
Well, that would happen like if we live in NT or the town of Tonawanda or in Kent or almost every place, Amherst, almost every place else. Building would be sending a letter to the residents saying you have to fix your sidewalk.
Yeah.
Then they would have to take their tree down and fix their sidewalk.
Or they can fix their sidewalk every 3 years when the tree just keeps destroying their new sidewalk.
But we've taken that on here, so.
So what's your recommendation?
I mean, honestly, it's what it comes down to is we gotta at least send this letter and try to get it down. And the question is, do we just make them do it, or do we offer to help with a portion of the financial burden? If we help with a portion of the financial burden, how much?
How many trees is this, we're talking about?
I think it's like 20 locations. If we can, and just to be clear, and so everybody knows, if. Actually, you brought this up, there's a resident, I think on Canton Street, where their sidewalk is actually lifted from their tree. To the point where the whole slab is out.
It's about 8 inches.
That tree is far enough away where when we cut those roots to put the new sidewalk in, we aren't gonna kill that tree. So like in that particular case, because this tree is, I wanna say it's like 15 feet off the sidewalk.
Yeah.
We can put the new sidewalk in, even though their tree caused it, we can put it in without damaging the tree, so we're just gonna do it. So that wouldn't be one of the locations where we'd be telling the resident that they gotta fix the tree.
Whatever you put in place, we need to be consistent.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell one person to give them, obviously, a financial incentive, tell the other person to sit down with your own.
It's just gonna be a flat fee, it's not gonna, you're
Has
not gonna
to be.
say,
Yes,
They don't
yes.
say.
if it's 42 inches, you get $800.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, no, it's,
No, it's just.
I mean, honestly, we don't have to do the 50.
You can
inch
do 40.
delineator. We don't have to do any delineation, we can just say, one-time offer, we'll give you whatever, whatever you decide. It's all up in the air, how I'm gonna handle it.
With the understanding that if the tree's not removed, their sidewalk's not gonna be replaced.
Right,
Right.
we just fill it up like the black top and I imagine. Residents aren't gonna be really happy with that. Maybe the person who's home it is in front, they'll be happy because they don't have to pay to take the tree down, but
Right.
people using the sidewalk probably aren't gonna want the rest of the black top.
I broke it up into two sizes, and you do it $800 for any tree. As soon as you have a small tree, I mean, since I did a large for 1,000, smaller ones for 500. This is an actual group, and both these.
Could you do a percentage of the cost?
Again,
We don't wanna do
the
that.
cost. of the average.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd rather just make.
Contract.
You bring copies in, right?
Right.
It's not in front of
I'll
you.
get you a receipt for twice the cost, so you guys cover all of it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I like it.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you wanna go with what kind of incentive or no incentive at all, or?
Well, we got the list, we sent around the letters first. And then going for the incentive for the next go around.
Okay,
Well,
so,
what if 10 residents abide by the letter and 10 say no? And then we go after the 10 that say no and say, okay, we'll give you an incentive. And the 10 that already did it are like, wait a minute, where's my
Or you
incentive?
send the incentive
You
with
gotta
it.
give it flat out, right?
Give the incentive with it, it might be very, very nice.
Yeah, what else? I'd like that too. This off-
Yeah, opt into
Yeah.
the incentive before we take legal
You
action.
got
Yeah, I
18 to 18.
To look at the other side of it,
Yeah.
if you offer the incentive, if they don't do it,
You've
then
got X amount of
they
days
don't
to
want to respond
respond.
after 5 years.
Right.
X amount of days to respond.
you wanna go with the 1,500?
What do you think, Sal?
50 inches, so
Yeah,
break up.
I agree.
What do you think? The 50 inches, the acceptable amount?
I mean, do you want my real opinion?
Yeah, I want the real opinion.
My real opinion is it shouldn't be any incentive.
Okay. Okay, I tried the first letter.
I mean,
The incentive is having your
Sidewalk.
sidewalk.
it's being nice, but you're being nice to certain people that have a certain situation, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying, we should start with the letters. Send the letters out, and if 10 people fix it, and the other 10 don't, then the next 10, the letter will be more strongly written.
You know, a lot of elderly people on fixed budgets, so I can't afford it either way. so I'm not doing
That's probably gonna be the case, honestly.
Yeah.
Mayor, I know
it.
if you mentioned, I think you said, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said it's like 50, over 50 inches, you're looking at like $7,000.
Please.
The $1,000 probably isn't gonna happen.
With that logic, with the fixed income, if the mayor was to raise the taxes 7%, they go, I can't pay my taxes, you can tell them sell your house. So what's the difference? You say, I can't afford to fix my tree. I can't afford to put a new roof on, like, at what point does this become the city's burden versus the homeowners?
That's why we've gotta get out of the business of sidewalks, you know.
We should already have a policy, I mean, unrelated to this issue, we should already have a policy that as these sidewalks are getting fixed, they should be being served with a letter that says the sidewalk for this residence is now.
I've never seen a council willing to do it, that's the problem, I was there, I said the same thing.
Especially after what you did in the second ward all that, then we had hundreds of feet of sidewalk fixed. And those individual residents should have been said, hey, now as of 2025, that sidewalk's yours.
We're one of the only municipalities left, there's like only a couple left to do it.
That's been discussed for 18 years now.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
What do we, can you? Or me and you work together to write a resolution to start that process, that start turning the sidewalks over?
I mean,
Or do we need the city attorney, we need the attorney?
ultimately, the council has to approve.
Mike, what do we need to do that?
Right, we'd have to, there's certain sections in the code and in the charter we'll have to look at, but yes. Require a resolution to do that,
But
or
it's-
possibly a local law.
Okay. And then would we be looking to turn over everything right now? Or would we be looking to say, as your sidewalk gets fixed by the city?
Yeah, for that's a decision of how you guys decide you wanna do it, then we'll make it happen.
Can't keep kicking it down. Can't get what's been done for years.
I would like to see all the sidewalks turned over immediately. And then as they complain and say. It's an issue, if it was a city caused issue, but then we could talk about mitigating it, if it's not a city caused issue, such as what you're saying, a tree. Then to say to them,
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, because all these communities that basically it's the residents' responsibility to maintain the sidewalk, I won't say all of them, most of them, if it's a city tree causing the issue, then the city would fix it.
Right, correct.
We would stick with that.
30 years ago, my father called the town of Tonawanda and said my sidewalk broke, and the guy came out and goes, sure is. I said, great, next day he gets a letter in the mail, says you have 30 days to remediate your sidewalk.
Unbelievably, it's my daughter lives there.
It's the ownership in the residents' hands. I mean, you know, a lot of people complaining about sidewalks that aren't that bad. That enough people complain, it becomes a priority. Whereas it incentivize people that, is it that bad or is there some more?
Well, watch how many not bad sidewalks you.
Yeah. You gotta cost it is nuts and we haven't, I mean, the money that we put towards it every year. isn't fixing it. And then from a liability standpoint, it's still part of your home. So it's not like you're not on the hook or somebody can't sue you anyways if you don't. So
Then Jason, we
We
use
don't have
our
separate-
money, we use 150,000 we get from the county, we use that to just do the sidewalks we have to.
Yeah, there still would be a sidewalk budget,
I know.
probably every year, but it's most of the sidewalk issues are city trees related. But yeah, that nobody has a separate homeowners policy in the city of Tonawanda because we maintain the sidewalks, everybody's paying that liability. For so many components. And just to give you the perspective of the previous councils, the reason that the closest we ever got was once the sidewalk is done in front of your house, then we turn it over, was because the argument at the time that some council members made was that it wouldn't be fair that if somebody who got their sidewalks done 3 years ago, we never had to spend money on the sidewalk and somebody else who didn't, would. That was the
That's if
argument.
you did one massive turnover.
That's why they wanted to phase it.
again, you say, compare that to what they're doing with replacing the last year. 3 years ago, I replaced my water line. They're replacing 3 people building the line.
Right.
I'm not a luck because mine sprung a leak before that actually happened, but I'm not drinking lead-based pipes.
But it's the same thing too, before we did that massive turnover, once we set a date, you could have the homeowners contact the city and ask for an opinion and you are Brian, we go out and do your evaluation, your 1 through 10 scale. The city could say, we'll fix all 7 through 10s before we turn them over and 1 through 6s are going to the homeowners unless they post a, what?
You can find a reason.
Right, you can find a threshold in there unless it caused a trip hazard or immediate necessity, right? It is doable. With you two leaving, I think that'd be your gift to the city. Turn over the sidewalk.
We've been talking about it for years.
How you feel about it, Dave?
I'm on board.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference in cost. I mean, for me to fix my own sidewalk for you, and then the city to repair it, there's prevailing wage contracts or increase. When you really look at it overall, the entirety of the city, the 6,000 homes are paying for 1 or 2 people sidewalks. And is that fair to the bulk of the city, especially as we're looking at rising costs and tax increases over the years?
So like, what do we gotta do to get that done? Turn over the sidewalks? Where's the starting point? After we leave?
In the interim with this tree thing, no incentive.
I'm under no incentive. I like your idea. Start with the letters.
And then the only other issue that I want to talk about regarding sidewalk is Sharon, what was the name of the place again? On Main Street, just south of Broad Street, Styles Unique, thanks. Never remember. Styles Unique on Main Street, they're like, yeah, they're, yeah,
Third
exactly.
Ward Main Street, not second.
Yeah, they have, there's a sidewalk in front of their building, which is in good shape. Then there's concrete paths between the sidewalk and the curb that are in really bad shape. My policy is that anything between the sidewalk and the curb is for the benefit of the homeowner or the business. So for example, my driveway, right? We'll replace the sidewalk that goes across your driveway because that's a public thoroughfare. The public can walk on that. Nobody can park a car on your driveway apron. That apron is strictly to benefit your house. So we make them responsible. Same thing if they've got a walkway that comes out, say the front door and goes to the street. That walkway is not a public walkway. That's for your benefit. You're responsible to replace it. Now, where that kind of falls apart a little bit in this case, or potentially can, is if you look at where Styles Unique is on Main. she's got grass on either side of this area where people get off and go to the salon. But the other side of the road, there's sidewalk, there's concrete all the way from the building fronts to the curb, to the whole block.
Tell them where the street place is.
The church.
Other side of the
Salem
main,
Church.
the east
Salem
side, yeah, where the
Church.
church is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then if you go one block to the north of where she is, you cross Broad to the north. It's also concrete all the way sidewalk to building.
Defense of that though, on the side of Salem that you're talking about, from Salem all the way to Broad, it's concrete from curb to building. There is no driveway cut, there is no curb cut. On the other side of the street, you have Poppy, Styles Unique, the gas station. Those are multiple driveway cuts, multiple curb cuts in there
Too.
and some grass. So that is a completely different setup than what's being done on the other side, on the east side.
Broad is like that too. If you go broad towards like Delaware, that's concrete all the way building front. So
Broad, no, not
until you
on,
get to Walgreens.
on that side of the street. But then if you're on the other side, it stops at William. Because then William, to William to Delaware is all residential and that's all grass and there's a bus stop there.
Yeah.
So, but those are driveway cuts in between there too, because you got M&T Bank, it's curb to building concrete, but then you also have M&T Bank. You have that, the construction company on the corner, you have a law firm in there, there's multiple driveway cuts in there. Even though
What's
it
your
is
best one?
up to William. No, and then past William, it's grass and driveways, and then before William, from Broad to William, it's all concrete with multiple driveways.
Yeah.
Salem on Main Street section has no cuts.
Right.
So it's a different thing. So what's the question about Styles Unique? Do you want to talk about replace it or not replace it? Is there apron?
That's the question.
Is it their apron?
No,
It's just the concrete area?
it's what it is people park in the street on Main Street and then they step off onto the concrete and walk into the salon. And I think somebody fell a few years ago, got hurt. We never got sued, I don't think, or anything for it, but.
It is our crap.
So if it's between the curb and the sidewalk, why don't you just take the curb out or take the concrete out, put grass seed and soil down and
And that was the recommendation, and they didn't want to do it because that's where they're,
I don't think they have a choice in that.
Not their property.
they
Not a
don't
problem.
have a choice, we want to tell them that. But what I need is like a rule that applies same to everybody, you know what I mean? So
Well, you're saying to them, if you like having the option of having concrete for your customers, then fix the concrete. They're saying, nope, it's a city property, I want it remedied. Okay, the city's gonna remedy it as cheap as possible, which is grass and grass seed and dirt. And now you're not gonna be happy with the outcome that you have no say in. And they're going, whoa, I don't want that. I want it fixed and here's what I want. Doesn't work like that.
No, it's not their property. You put asphalt. It's even
Yeah,
cheaper.
you can blacktop it. if you
I
want
wouldn't
to.
do that.
It would look like crap.
Get
It
into
would
that.
look
I
like
would
crap in
rather-
our downtown area.
I mean, at the most, I would. Again, because it's that area, it's weird when you're in a situation where you're looking across the street and
It's
everybody's
a
over there.
downtown area.
Stamps is another one. Stamps has got concrete all the way around both sides of the building. There's a church on, I think it's on Scott.
Right.
Scott White.
Yeah, with the parking lot of the church, and then on the other, on the Williams side, I think it's got concrete all the way to the curb, which we replaced.
But if you're,
Oh, yeah.
So I guess there's so many weird situations. I don't like the arbitrariness of it. I want a rule
Stick to the.
that we can stick
I
on.
think the argument is that they want it fixed, you'll say as a city, we'll fix it, and we fix it for as cheap as possible, we're not in the business of spending top dollar to enhance their business, if they wanna fix it, like you said, tell them, put whatever they want, you can put mosaic tile down.
But even more, when we give the sidewalk to the business owners.
We've done the cheapest way possible.
I mean, honestly, I would either say, no, we're not doing anything, you fix it, or
But what's our ability to tell them to
It's
fix
our
city property?
responsibility, it's our liability.
How do we tell them they have to fix city property, because they go
same way
to,
we do with aprons. That is for your specific property. If you have a walkway from your doorway going off the curb,
you fix
I'm
it,
not fixing that.
or tell it,
Or your
or
house.
tell us you want us to, or tell us you want us to fix it, and we will fix it. And Dave will go scrape it out with a bobcat, drop in a
We can give them that option.
take a truck of soil, throw down some grass seed, and now we won't have a problem of a trip hazard.
You
She
said
wants
she
me to
didn't
like,
like that, we're gonna give you that, because you.
well, she doesn't like it, and then you
The
can't,
only option you got.
she wants to have her cake and eat it too, that's not gonna happen.
What Jason is looking for though is a uniform rule, because on the other side of the street, we would replace.
We would fix it on the other side.
Because on the other side of the street, there is no,
On Main Street, we would fix it. On Broad Street. we would
because
fix
Main
it.
Street,
On
that's,
Main Street and Broad, we fix all of those.
because that's solid concrete from end to end now.
We fix it.
Hers is not solid concrete from end to end,
Right.
it's sidewalk apron that they chose to put concrete in place.
For all the arguments that I was
Because when
making.
you go down to Hobbies, you can see where the concrete used to be between the curb and the apron, and it's just disintegrated from the heavy weight of the truck, and now it's just a dust bowl, because they drive the trucks over it. So now Hobby, if you put concrete in front of hers, Hobby's gonna come and say, I want the concrete between where the curb line and the sidewalk should be is, and then within 6 weeks, it'll just be dust from those big heavy trucks.
I think with Hobbies, we make the argument that's
Now with the
an
machine.
apron, it's not a walkway, it's an apron.
I can tell you this, I'm trying to think in my head, Scott and William recently, they had what they used to call the old car step out sidewalks, where right on the curb line, there was about a 2 foot, not even 1 foot
Yeah,
piece
they
of
put
concrete.
there, we told them that we weren't gonna fix.
And then when it went bad, it came out, they just put down some soil and seed, and now it's just grass, it is there, because
Yeah.
otherwise it would cost thousands to replace that concrete.
I think one of the ways that we could look at it, if we have any interest in this at all, if we just wanna say, no, we're not doing anything. You know, there, that's fine. A deciding factor would be if we've got concrete from building front to curb. Across the entire property. We would maintain it. If it's piecemeal, where you only got a little area, and there's grass on either side or one of the sides, it wouldn't be fixing it,
Do you know the address on the top of your head?
no.
Because there's also an apron.
That side there is an apron, we wouldn't do the apron.
It's 88 Main Street approximately.
Thank you.
But I can tell you, if a resident comes in. On any street, and they want their apron done, or their walkway done, we're not doing it.
There's an apron, there's grass,
Yep.
this is a walkway, then 2 pieces here, and then another apron. So if they're complaining this section here is defective, and they want the city to rip it out, then we would just put the grass back in to match this, and then this would just be one nice big piece of grass. Same way, out that, like, who mows that grass? The city doesn't mow it,
No, they mean,
right? It's the same argument.
Isn't that corner too, is that theirs? That was blacktop over all the way to the end?
the blacktop is apron next to it.
Right, but I mean, I remember that whole corner there.
Just think
like
give them a
blacktop
choice.
over
Yes.
cement, that's already there.
Give them
Grass.
grass.
We'll put grass in that, yeah, but, you want to go put concrete.
Over there too.
Yeah.
That's, what I mean, I don't want to be making exceptions, I want to have a rule that I can just.
Right.
Apply equally to
In
everybody.
front of my house, they have the curb, sidewalk, and I have grass. I don't like my grass, I don't like mowing it. Can I take that grass out and put concrete in? I'm gonna pay for it, can I do it?
Some people put flowers and stone and.
That's what I mean.
We've never done the whole
Is that one of the
way,
corners?
or just like a walkway.
No, the whole way, I'm gonna get all the grass between my apron and my neighbor's apron. Between those 2 aprons, there's a grass spot, and I don't like the grass, I have to mow it. Can I replace all that grass and put concrete in at my own cost? Can I do that?
It's never really come up, I'd have to think about it.
It's your right away, but can I do that? Because that's my way of.
That would actually come to council.
Not with
I mean,
our
this right,
permission.
basically,
Can I need a
it's
permit?
100, you could break
Oh,
that up. and
you need the permission of the city to put it in the right of way, because we have the right to rip it up, so if we're doing something with the road and we need to dig there and
Yep.
concreted it,
Yeah,
we're ripping it up, we're not replacing it.
I mean,
and then you're putting, or then are you putting grass back where it is?
Yeah.
I think we know our answer.
My recommendation would be no anyway, because you don't want to introduce liability, and what happens all the time is we try to be nice. You know, to help residents out with issues, we see this with, like, for example, when we filled in the drainage ditch from the pond in Mill Street. Right, we didn't like the open ditch, so we put a pipe in there to be nice, we buried it. Well, we don't have an easement, so I need to fix it, I can't get back there, people have put in fences and sheds and all sorts of stuff over it, so we try to be nice sometimes, and it kind of backfires, 30 years later. Nobody knows
Thinking
what
about
how it
how
happened,
they're gonna bring out that pole. So you're.
because that's what happened there. If you, for example, put concrete in front of your house, in the sidewalk and a curb, 30 years from now, when it was in bad shape and somebody tripped and it got hurt. We'd be arguing with the next homeowner whose responsibility is to fix it, so my recommendation would be to help doesn't plow there.
Right, so that's where we are now, someone at some point allowed, you can tell where the grass stopped, why would someone leave a 3 foot, approximately 3 foot grass patch there? And then put the concrete and then another apron, and now that concrete's shot, and they're saying, it's time for the city to fix it, yeah, the city's gonna put the grass back the way it should be. And if not, know,
That becomes a question, who installed that concrete there?
Did
they do it as a business or?
It was probably the business because they wanted
Right,
to help
for
their customers, get to their.
for shoveling purposes too,
But now it's broken
Now
down
it's broken down.
and they, so, no.
so if that, in the winter
Grass
time,
in
if
it.
that's grass, the only way to get into that business is to come up either one of those aprons and walk the sidewalk, this way it gives them the ability to shovel and snowplow. which is fine, but
They have
we
to-
shouldn't be on the hook for that.
No. We're not
I-
gonna fix their broken contract.
I think this requires a larger discussion.
Okay.
It goes to Patty and Greg.
Why can't we just say are we in agreement that it's a no, that we're not gonna fix the concrete?
I don't think.
I don't.
I
We
agree.
fixed it on Broad.
I
we
just
fixed
need,
it-
I need the rule that says when we can do it. Like, we're not gonna go down Main Street and not fix any of that stuff, you know, any of that concrete, I mean, we're gonna do it there.
There was never grass there to begin with. That's how the downtown footprint was
Kind
designed.
of,
You can see from, I mean, I'm just on Google Maps, you can see from where the footprint on that Google map shot is, that there was grass there at one point. They stopped the grass and they specifically put it in front of their storefront. Where you're talking about from Salem Church to Broad, where those storefronts are, it's like 75, 72, 71, all the way to 67. That has been curb to building, concrete, no driveway, no curb cuts, no vehicles passing over it. It's basically a large sidewalk. Same thing with Main Street, where like the Alps is, and the American Legion and Mooney's and the Senior Center. That's always been corner to building concrete.
right,
It's never had grass there.
but when it was actually done, it's irrelevant, like, when that decision was made to allow them to do that, it's irrelevant.
Right.
I need an issue,
Well, therein lies the
Moving
issue,
forward.
because now if you talk about it with everything going on, your Main Street district and your downtown, you're gonna do it for Main Street. Those places
we
are,
were
in your
gonna-
foot- those places are in your footprint of Main Street.
right, and if we were gonna continue, we had looked at a project that would be Main Street down further, that probably would have been concrete.
No.
Or we got like on Main Street down the other end.
Went to the zoning.
Yeah, we got concrete, so
Different.
as long as I have a rule,
Is that considered by?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, everything else downtown, is that part of the downtown footprint? Or-
yeah,
I think that rule would have to come from legal.
Well, that's.
I mean,
Tell you what that rule is.
what I'm thinking is if you have existing concrete.
Well, Jason and I have talked about it,
Across the property.
rule that we would do it for this, the central business district. The map you
That's-
said-
And it's fine. You-
That's-
it's the downtown.
There's the
federal.
answer.
Then, I mean.
But then Hoppy's is gonna ask right to have theirs done
Right, I
right.
know, there's a
That's
different situation.
Not
That's
acre.
big.
Yeah,
I mean,
not
I mean, we
Not
distinctly
acre. Only
make the
walkway.
distinction between central business district as
That's,
opposed to.
that's what we talked about, and
I think
to not be arbitrary to have an existing map, this is our
Right, we
proposed.
wanted to go with,
Central business
it
district,
wasn't
don't-
arbitrary, if you're in the central business district, that's why we're.
It's huge though,
There
there's
you
a
go.
lot of
Right,
areas.
we have to just do it, there's nothing else.
No, that makes sense.
If you make the distinction for central business
We'd be
district
fixing,
as
but
opposed
we'd be
to
fixing
the Main
every
Street area,
whole area.
then you have.
That's
I
concrete
I think
curb
the rule
to
that he
sidewalk.
can apply, that's why he'd like.
If somebody has a walkway.
At least in
I'll
some,
this year,
you
we're
put
gonna
your
fix
finger,
it.
yeah.
Right, curb to
Yes,
sidewalk.
when we talked about the hub in that area.
Yep.
We want to talk about a specific area.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I
anything
think
in the
that's the
central
way to go.
business district is going to be.
Well, what?
Okay.
Fix my concrete.
That's-
Fix my concrete.
No, this, you make the distinction that
All
you're
right,
gonna
thanks,
do it
Jason.
for the
All right,
area
thanks.
of the
You're
central,
okay, Jack.
central business district. As opposed to all of Main Street.
All right, make a motion to adjourn our informal, go into our formal, second by
Same.
Mr. Brown, all those in favor?
Jason, when we go around the room later, I need you again.
Okay.
After the council meeting.
Yeah, he'll come back.
You get to spend the night with us, I guess. Unless you were going home. Were you going home?
Keep in mind, it's a nice night.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going home, I can save it till next week. But you will.
Yep.
Thank you.
Budget's night.
Oh, yeah.
So that you're gonna take a start doing replace, and you know, the other sidewalks all along there, except that back end.
That's much efficient.
How you doing, buddy?
Bad, but so, no matter how you do it, it's, you know.
Okay.
Try. Okay, and we have to read sure. We'll bring it to you, yeah.
You told Jason to bring it to us?
Yeah, I said, well, we made a rule, but I said that, you know, we don't make the rules, you guys make that.
But we don't have a rule. We don't already have
Well,
it.
that's what he's looking for.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'll turn it over to the mayor for his Veteran of the Month and Order of the Second World War presentation. Mayor?
Great, I've got two of them for actually the Wazowski family, and I'd like to start with Chester, who was actually Don's father. And Chester Wazowski enlisted in the United States Navy on August 21st of 1943. A seaman first class, Chester did not know how to swim. He served in the World War II and was assigned to the Europe, Africa, Middle East Theater. He participated in the Europe, Africa, Middle East campaign, including the invasion of Normandy in June of 1944. Besides transporting equipment to and from Normandy, he would also transport the wounded back to the main ship. Docking at Normandy was very difficult as ships could get stuck with the tides coming in and out. Chester Gwiazdowski also ended up in Okinawa, Japan. Among his numerous awards, citations, and campaign ribbons are the American Campaign Medal, the Europe, Africa, Middle East Campaign Medal with a battle star, and the World War II Victory Medal. Upon returning home, Chester married Adele and had 7 children, and he never referenced his time in the war. His son Don, in about the past year, have been able to acquire many of his medals, ribbons, and citations through the assistance of a retired colonel. They are proudly displayed in a special case that Don has. I see they have it with them. Chester Gwiazdowski loved the American flag and hung it very proudly every day until he passed away 29 years ago. It would have been 100 years old on June 12, 2025. I want to thank Chester Gwiazdowski for his honorable service to our country and his dedication to the preservation of freedom for all people throughout the globe. The globe. Let's give a round of applause, and I'm sure he hears us. Before I present that one, there's another one. I've never had this one given to me before, but all of a sudden I got an envelope from the Department of the War, and they sent this to me. And it's actually a military order of the Second World Wars, a society for men and women who share World War II ancestry through a parent. And it was kind of cool. So what they came up with is they came up with this medal here, and it actually is, I'll give you the paperwork for it too, but it's a medal that I will give to you, and I will read what they had to say on that. It's the Donald John Gwiazdowski, you are the one receiving it, and has been elected as a member of the Order of the Second World War. So I'm going to present both these today, so come on up. I'd love to give them to you. This one here is the medal. I'm going to present. You're actually going to get 2 of these. So one I'm going to keep. I'm not going to give you both, but the one you will take with you, and the other one we will hang in the front door when you commit on the right-hand side, and it'll be there for the month for Chester. And then at the end of the month, the new one will be put up for the whole month. And then at the, this year's end, we're putting all of them on a plaque, which will have a 20. 23, 24, 25, and we're going to go 26, 27, as far as we can until we run out of room. So I just want to keep these living forever, whether they're here or not. Does that make sense? I think so. So this here I will put over here, and this is signed by John and myself. This one I will keep, and the one inside the packet here is for you. Show it and feel the sauce is not. Perfect. Okay. And here's the second one, which goes to you, Don. This is the Military Order of the World Wars. In recognition of service ability to preserve democracy in the free world of tyranny and oppression. Chester Anthony Gwiazdowski, again, his U.S. Navy, his listing number, tank landing ship. That number, service upon, acted upon the service and entered into the record of the order this 12th day of September in the year of the Lord 2020. This is us. So I know you're very proud. Congratulations.
Some more family members.
Chris, come on up. My brother Frank and my sister Chris. Frank, how are you? Nice to meet you. Fine. Good to meet you. That is very impressive.
Such in the middle.
Very good, buddy. Good to see you. Yes.
Okay, communications from the mayor have been ordered and filed. Communications from city officials and correspondents have also been ordered and filed. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public on the resolutions. For those that are joining us in person, please approach the microphone. Mr. Clerk, any resident wishing to address the council on the resolutions?
No, ma'am, not at this time.
Okay, let's proceed.
Resolution number 1, sponsored by Councilmember Mylum.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Rounstrau. Mr. Clerk, can you read the resolution?
Resolved that the common council minutes from June 3rd, 2025 be accepted as filed.
Comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Cheesley,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 2, sponsored by Councilmember Sheasley.
Mr. Clerk, hold on it. Mr. Mylum,
Motion that we forego the reading of resolutions 2, 3, 4, and 5.
3 we have to amend, so.
Oh, that's true. 2, 4, and 5.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, I have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Mylum to waive readings of 2, 4, and 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sheasley. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Cheesley.
Aye.
Fisher,
Nay.
Rounstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare waiving of readings 2, 4, and 5.
May I proceed?
Yes, you can.
Resolution number 2 by Councilmember Sheasley.
Do you have a second? I'll second. Comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Cheesley,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrau,
Aye.
Mylum, Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. Mr. Clerk, on resolution number 3, I'm going to make a motion to amend this resolution. Number 6, we have to correct the spelling of vendor, VENDOR. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mylum. Mr. Clerk, call the roll on amending the resolution.
Cheesley,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare resolution 3 amended as the clerk will read.
Whereas the city of Tonawanda
Oh, hang on,
and
just,
the,
Mr. Clerk, just as a formality, resolution 3 is sponsored by the council, seconded by the council.
yes, ma'am.
Comments or questions? Oops, I'm sorry, please proceed.
Whereas the city of Tonawanda and the Tonawanda Football Clinic have had a long-standing relationship regarding the usage of city-owned recreational property located on East Niagara, and whereas the parties desire to continue and foster a better and safer working relationship between the parties and their participants, and whereas the parties desire to enter into an agreement wherein the terms and conditions for the use of city-owned property and the financial responsibilities of each party shall be set forth. Now, therefore, in consideration of the above stated and the covenants contained herein, the parties agree as follows. 1, property location. This agreement shall cover the use of the city-owned real property commonly known as the East Niagara Recreational Area. The city shall lease at a 40 by 20 portion of city-owned property which abuts the clinic's real property at 296 East Niagara Street for use as a candy snack stand. In addition, the city shall grant a non-exclusive lease to the clinic for the city-owned property which is currently utilized as a football field. Number 2, property use. The Tonawanda Football Clinic shall have the right to use the city-owned football field and surrounding areas at the East Niagara location to operate its sports programs and activities. All programs or activities taking place on city-owned property, including but limited to registration, practices, games, tournaments, and fundraisers, must be approved by the city. Some events may also require the user to obtain a special permit approved by the Common Council. The city shall retain the right to use said football field for sports and events, but the clinic shall have priority use of the property for its functions and activities. Number 3, rent. The clinic shall pay the city the sum of $1 per year for the use of the above stated city property during the term of this agreement. Number 4, insurance. The organization shall submit an insurance certificate in the amount of $1 million, naming the city as additionally insured prior to any activity to be held on city-owned property. Number 5, scheduling. The city will work with the Tonawanda Football Clinic to come up with schedules that work for both parties and that limit the interaction of their respective activities and participants. Number 6, financial responsibility. The city will contract with an outside vendor to provide 2 portable bathroom facilities, one of which will include a handicap accessible stall. The Tonawanda Football Clinic will reimburse the city 50% of the cost of the portable bathroom facilities during their months of usage. The Tonawanda Football Clinic shall maintain the portable bathroom units on a regular basis. The Tonawanda Football Clinic shall also reimburse the city of Tonawanda the actual cost of the paint needed to maintain the fields on a seasonal basis. The city shall be financially responsible to maintain the football field. Number 7, termination. The city reserves the right to immediately terminate the organization's use of the city-owned property only in order to protect the health and safety of the participants and residents of the city of Tonawanda. In the event the Tonawanda Football Clinic no longer desires to use city-owned property, it shall inform the city in writing, and all costs shall be prorated. Number 8, rules and regulations. The city shall have the authority pursuant to this agreement to impose reasonable rules and regulations for the use of the city-owned property. Number 9, perpetual term. The term of this agreement will be ongoing and unlimited in time as long as the clinic continues to function as a not-for-profit organization participating in youth sports activities on the subject property. Number 10, no assignment. The parties agree that this agreement may not be assigned to any other organization without the express written consent of the city of Tonawanda.
Comments or questions?
Comment.
Mr. Fisher?
Tonawanda Football Clinic enhances the lives of the children in this area. They have a football and cheerleading program, and both of those sports teach the kids responsibility while promoting exercise. This resolution promotes kids' sports and will be a positive for the youth in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Any other comments? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Teasley,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrow,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye, declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 4 is sponsored by Councilmember Fisher.
Seconded by Councilmember Rounstrau. Comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Teasley, Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrow,
Aye.
Mylum, Cook.
Aye, declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 5 sponsored by Councilmember Mylum.
I'll second. Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Teasley,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Rounstrow,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. We'll now take comments by the public following the resolutions. Those that are joining us in person, please approach the microphone. Mr. Clerk, any resident joining us virtually wish to address the council?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Sheasley.
Congratulate Witowski's family. Don, I've known him probably 40 years. A great family. I commend the DPW with all the patchwork they gotta go do in the city. I think they're up to Scanlon. He said, what, 2,000 potholes? I think Dave's up to 2,500. You know, and people don't understand what a rough winter this has been. They're doing the best they can, and I think they do a great job. And young lady, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Sheasley. Mr. Fisher.
I too would also like to thank the Veterans of the Month. Congratulations. For the Chris Fisher Gives Back, it went to the Historical Society of the Tonawandas. And I had to walk a whole 10 feet over there to give it to Skip. So thank you, Skip, for accepting the check on behalf of this Historical Society. Just for when we go back in for around the room, one of the things that I'll be bringing up is a note standing here at the corner on Grove Street. I have a picture that one of the residents provided to me, but we saw in today's resolution that we did it on Dexter Street. And residents are starting to find out if they have issues in the city, they can call their council members and we will get stuff done. So if you have problems in any of the 4 wards, call your council member. Thank you.
Mr. Ronstrow.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to start with thanking Mr. Wazowski, both Chester and Down, for your service to our country, to your family. It is appreciated. I did want to comment. There was a couple posts on Facebook. I know Jim's ward and people had asked, so I included him on it. I reached out to Green Lake Networks. There's a lot of questions as to when Green Lake will be out into that area, the Mill Stream area. They're plugging away, they're working along, getting permits, putting things up on poles. Their plan is hopeful that it will be done in the fall. So if anybody's looking forward or hasn't heard back, I have spoke to the Green Lake Networks rep to the city, and the plan for everyone is done in the fall. There's been some holdups with time and labor to get it up there. There's nothing in their way as far as contracts. I know some people mentioned CSX and going over the waterways, but it's my understanding they have continued to work on permits and are moving along at a steady pace. That's all I have this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher, or I'm sorry, Mr. Milam.
Thank you. Very quickly, thanking the Wazowskis again. It's just so interesting to hear what amazing people we have in this city. The veteran population is just unbelievable. I had the privilege of going down to downtown on Thursday night for both the bike night and the food trucks. And I actually had somebody reach out and their comment was, "Way to go, Tonawanda." It was really great to see that many people out in separate locations, just having a good night, enjoying the weather. So it's really a great thing to see down there. So kudos to everybody involved. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Milam.
Yes, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Milam. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, the Wazowski family, thank you and God bless for all you sacrificed. Appreciate that. The other thing is we are celebrating Juneteenth educational event on Thursday, of course, the 19th, down at the Hub, 12 o'clock. So come on down. It's an educational thing. We've done it for the 3rd year now. And we want to make sure that everybody comes down who wants to get an idea what Juneteenth is about. That's number one. Number two is the splash pad is on track. It's actually ahead of the track. We're hoping to get it in. We were hoping to get it before the end of the year. And then all of a sudden it looks like they're ahead of schedule. And then it looked like it may be for the pool opened up. But I think just after the pool is opened up, the splash pad will be there. And the nice thing about our splash pad, it's going to be no cost to our citizens. Other areas are beautiful, very nice. I like them, but they're also making people pay to get in. This will be no charge to the citizens. It's not huge, but it's gonna be a nice place to get wet for the little ones with no supervision needed. I hope the parents will be there, but they can just walk in and utilize the park. So that's gonna be really interesting to see. Kids Fish Derby's this weekend, the 21st, which is Saturday, pretty much from 8 o'clock until 11:30. We've also got the Fireman's Day Parade, the parade for the volunteer firemen, running from 1 o'clock up at the engine up here, 3, and it goes all the way to 2 Mile Creek. So it'll be a nice day to celebrate our volunteers and come on down and say hi, line the streets up. It'll be a nice day to celebrate. So that's all, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor said, please come on out and support our fire departments, volunteers, and all the other organizations that will march on the Fireman's Day Parade. Special thank you and a shout out to the Gudowski family for their contributions to our city as well as our country. And last and certainly not least, I hope all of the fathers had a wonderful Father's Day this past Sunday. Weather was beautiful and hopefully you got to do something that you enjoyed doing. And a special shout out to my dad on Father's Day as well. The Common Council is going to be meeting in the back. So for those that still want to stick around and join us, we'll be meeting in the back. Thanks all for coming this evening.
Liability falling back on the city if these places were inspected or okayed by us and something happening.
Right, it's a long process, but we probably would rather do it by a local law. Local law. Mere resolution. Got it. That's what we've been collecting.
I appreciate that. Young lady in lawn says, where's my railing? Up there.
I gave the cost to the council. If you guys want to do it,
I don't know what the total cost is, but
It was a $7,000.
Fine.
I'd say from here to there, right? to the
Right,
whole thing. I think
But I
it's
thought she wanted it.
For one person or?
no, just from here to the thing. The front door to the major, the main up line.
And that's us doing the work, ordering the material and doing the work ourselves. That's the only way to keep it down.
I'll bring it up. You know,
Great, reach out to one of their elected officials to see if we get some grant funding. They're safety.
It's the only way you'll get it, right? I mean, to be honest with you. There's
That's
one
fundraising.
person who I think should be using the Dropbox.
she says she wants to see people. She's reiterated it since it's so cold that you get a drop box.
Question though, if that person needs a rail from there to there to come in here and see people, how does that person go grocery shopping or out in
She's got a
public?
car. Go buy a car, or drive a car.
So could they use a walker the same way they could use? a
She's
car?
84 years old. And she gets around, but she broke her hip not long ago. She's afraid to do that.
What I'm saying is we're a city, so we're an easy target to say, hey, I pay taxes, put a rail in. But does she go to Wegmans and then Walmart and say, hey, I like to shop here, put a rail in?
All right, okay, let me get back. Let's go back to Loretta Street. We got one complaint in 5 years.
Yep.
Okay, and we threw a sign up.
Yeah.
Okay, we think we threw it in because one person complained and Chief Plants went through the records in 5 years. That was the only complaint. Well, just bringing it up, this young lady of 84 years old says it's a safety factor. That's all I'm bringing up.
But is it a safety factor? If they have a walker and they're at Wegmans, it's the same as if they have a walker and they're on that sidewalk that is maintained by the city. What is the rail for the purpose of holding herself on?
Holding on, she doesn't use a walk, she walks, she holds on.
But that's my question. What does she hold on to at other places?
Usually the carts there. I'm just bringing it up, and I agree with her.
So the
So the lady falls from there to here now, if they're bringing city notice, of course, we're liable again. Like anything, we're liable.
Why is she gonna fall from here and make us liable? Is it a broken sidewalk? Is it a crack? Is it a bomb?
Put it up and
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'd love to see a rail. It's just for $7,000 and we don't have a funding source.
If we don't have a railing, Mike, are we liable? I mean, is it no?
there's no legal requirement to put a road over there.
All I want is a solid answer, I'm just, it's ever been a solid answer saying,
I know, we've asked it for months and months, I'm just wondering.
I just want to put it to
But,
bed. When
I
talk
mean,
to them.
yeah, and we can ask for funding sources to see if it's feasible.
So it's not an ADA compliance issue, it's more of a courtesy thing. So to
Correct.
put that in there, we would need funding. That's our issue right now, so funding.
We're wasting the money on other things, so I didn't think it was that steep. And it was that steep.
7,000?
Yeah, I thought that was the quote. Did you
I don't
mention?
think it was 4, I don't say 4 or 5. I get. No.
I'm just putting it in perspective, like we talked about the sign on Loretta, the sign was $250, but the entire signal budget for just signs alone. To put up is 9,000 for the entire year.
But one complaint in 5 years, Chris, I understand, we keep doing it now, I think we have one person running for alderman. On Adams Street, she should ask for one because of the restaurants there, they block every driveway. And that's what we can get into, we say, hey, I want a sign, why not? I don't, okay. Move on. You have contact, I believe, or had contact with the pastor on Watson.
Already communicated with them.
Right, okay, all right, good, thank you.
I got the right number.
Yeah, I know, the guy gave me the wrong. So, all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
What if you reached out, so like Erie County legislator gave out money recently, Tonawanda Sox, Tonawanda football, they have expendable funds, they're buying AEDs, so can you reach out to them and see if they can pay for them?
I'll send it to Conrad and,
We'll look at
Nate.
Barney, I don't think Conrad can do something that small, but I think Barney might be able to.
There might be one from Lester. Yeah.
The other thing is too, if we can look around for a railing laying around somewhere, then someone can install it, it's concrete and stuff, but we can get a railing somewhere, it's nothing more than a long, you're talking about just like a long piece of.
Yeah, that's all.
Like safety
Right, safety rail, probably every 8 feet or whatever, with a, no rail into the ground.
So if our problem here is the $7,000, we can look for another solution, to get a rail, our DPW's top notch as far as
So
installing. stuff.
they were started to make it, but it was not, they thought it was with these steps on
Right,
there. They can make it. That's my understanding, Dave.
Let's be sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
just,
well then,
Material and labor.
I'll let
Well, labor's would be us.
Yeah.
We gotta arrange it.
Yeah.
material, well, it depends, because they usually give a nice pole for like, they would like a, chain link fence, we're just using poles, not that expensive. But this is something we can get my back end 100%, it's just the $7,000 price tag, maybe, I don't know how
I'll
quotes
throw it out
work.
to the local.
Or the legislator, or to see if anybody can donate a rail, I mean, ADA company can donate something. Put on my list, speed humps, we have an update on speed humps.
I haven't heard from Dave, I asked him about it, he said he's still looking into it, we had 3 different reports.
Jason. The mayor gave an award to 6 Main Street, and he said it was beautified. Does that mean the underground vault situation has been mitigated?
No, that's
No,
still.
right, this was, we can.
So the award had nothing to do with them actually fixing the vault.
Oh, God, no. No, we opened up our line of communication a little bit better, so I can address it and he will meet with me with the fault, that's why. He's done a lot, not really nice job. He paved the parking lot, he painted the side of the building, and I'm trying to put a bureau on his side, so I'm trying to work with him. But he's gotta work with us too, with his basement. Well, the pictures are.
6 figures.
He's not gonna put a big head in.
No, you do that. And then the other second one I have for engineering is Dave, last meeting, brought up Canal Street Pavilion sides with walls. With wind shade attachments, or if it being structurally sound. Is it doable to put walls on there in its current condition? Does it have to be rebuilt? Is it not able to have walls put up? What is your engineering study?
We still have to do a structural evaluation of it, to see if it can be built.
So who does it? An outside company or you as the city engineer?
No, it's an outside company, it's gotta be structural.
And then who pays?
Costs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who pays for that? Just to find out if we can put walls.
That's, yeah, it's gonna be part of the DRI.
So we're gonna use DRI. How much does a study like that cost? Ballpark, I won't hold it to
I
it.
think 25, yeah, 20 to 30, somewhere in that range is
25 to 30,000 or 1,000?
1,000.
$25,000 to $30,000
20 to 30.
to do a study to find out if we can put walls on a pavilion. So occasionally, whoever's using it in the month of March or October doesn't get cold or wet.
That's not true. It's also during the midsummer when you get a rainstorm going sideways and everybody can't sit in there. So it's supposed to be a four-season pavilion and I'm just saying, that's what they put it in.
Four-season
It's
pavilion?
supposed to be a four-season pavilion.
That is definitely not I'm not
No, that's what
an
Peter
engineer,
said.
that is not a four. I have a 3-season room on my house and it gets colder, and that has no walls on it. How could that be a
Full
4-season?
party and many.
Is that a? He wants a $7,000 railing, I'm yelling at him, that you guys spent $30,000 on a study to find out if we can put a wall up?
You have to do the study because once you put that, it's like a sail. And to find out if it's strong enough, that sail is gonna go in and out and you could topple it. So it's a smart thing to do from an engineering standpoint to do
No, it
that.
is, but.
If you, how would you don't put the wall up and you save the 30,000 plus the cost of the wall and the sail or whatever else? And just say, nope, we don't need this, that is frivolous. This is all gonna come back to bite us budgets out. Because something, we're waiting to see what the budget's gonna do, but the budget's gonna come out, and we're gonna say, we had all this DRA, we had all this free money, 30,000 for a study to see if we can put a wall on a pavilion.
That was specifically for that project. It's not, has nothing to do with our budget. We can't use any of the DRI for our budget. Anyway,
We could. Putting that wall up or not is not gonna generate additional revenue for the city. It's not gonna be beneficial. People are gonna say, hey, they have $30,000 study on a wall now. Now we can, now wanna rent that.
we're not even
If
saying.
we
it's
do a
gonna work.
$30,000
So we're gonna say it's gonna work.
No,
30,000 in my house.
They're gonna say.
And then we'll have, we paid for money on the studies, now we have to pay for the reinforcement of the thing too.
If we choose to go with the wall, after the study makes the recommendations.
Right, if there's a structural issue, we'd have to address them, still want to go with the walls. I mean, this is a. You know, this is a policy that the decision that was made when it was built, we're gonna have walls. Now we wanna look at having walls.
When you say we wanna look at having walls, who wants to look at having walls? I don't wanna look at having walls. Do you wanna look at having walls?
I'm gonna stay quiet. I'm gonna stay quiet.
I'm
All
just-
I know is this was part of DRI. And I'm pretty sure everybody in this room has seen all the projects in DRI, and if you didn't, you really should know.
Well, I've seen what the project, I'm
So that
aware.
was included in there, so to say that you didn't know that this was in there now is kind of.
But I didn't have a say in the DRI projects.
No.
I did not, as a council member, I did not have their say.
Driving.
Every
Right.
citizen in the city could have gone to one of the meetings and had opportunities for input, absolutely.
There were
There were several, oh my God,
15
15 meetings,
opportunities for public input.
Republican, including write-ins, yes.
And to be full disclosure, here,
Yeah.
I'm not like advocating for the walls, obviously, I was
Oh, I know.
in when the thing
Neither am I,
was
it's
made,
part of the DRI.
but. I mean, it's been out there for a long time. I mean, you know, you're, both of you are relatively new, but everybody on this side of the table knows. That it would need a structural analysis for years at this point, if you're gonna go that route.
I guess that's my question. If we were gonna go that route, my question is, why do we need to go that route? Like, what is so?
You understand my position?
I do
I'm an
understand.
engineer. I'm
No,
not a
I got that.
policymaker,
I got that. You're not
designing
designing
walls.
Correct. Your job is to make sure if there is a wall is safe.
When I get directions from the elected officials to execute a project, I execute the project.
Jason, what made the cost go from, it was 5,000 2 years ago, now all of a sudden it's up to 25?
Well, you're looking at the, I think I want to, let me give you the prices,
Yeah, because I think.
because I think it was,
20,000 is the cost of the study before you even get to.
You know, for do the low test, I was told it was $5,000 originally. That was
there's study and design associated with it. So
okay.
before everybody starts jumping off on numbers, and this is kind of why I don't like that being there, but to be clear, for everybody listening and everybody here, let's get real numbers before we just start arguing about numbers and saying this is it.
Well, to ask what different structure types are, because I'm not an engineer, I know anything about structure types. That's a 4-season shelter.
So there's a couple issues we gotta look at. First of all, we gotta make sure, I'm talking about the walls. First of all, we gotta make sure that the structure can handle it.
Yeah.
Then there are issues with getting a proper seal. So if you look at the columns, there's good columns that come down and there's a decorative brick base that goes down there. So it's not like you've got a straight pole and you just put a wall between them like a garage. So you've got some issues there to deal with. You've also got security issues. Obviously, we don't want to have walls that can be pulled down by just anybody. We want to make sure that they're lockable because obviously, you know, we've got some issues down there with people using it for unauthorized reasons, let's just say. We don't want to make sure that what goes on there is observable by police so they can patrol and monitor what goes on. So yeah, this is something that we were gonna look at as part of the DRI. Doesn't mean we're gonna necessarily go forward next year, regardless of what anybody says. This-
Be guided by the next steps then. Well, if it's DRI money, then we don't have to say as a council anyways then, right? If they decide to go forward.
Saying it's fine with the study if we're that.
No, the study, the cost of the study is still not.
DRI, so we're not authorizing the study, we're not authorizing the result.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I mean, you're authorizing every contract.
for DRI spending,
Sure, I mean, you have the, it's reimbursement contracts, it's like all my grants. So, first of all, like for a regular project, there's gonna be a bond authorization for every project, right? So you have to authorize the bond. Once the bond is authorized, you still have the next step. Let's say I've got to hire a consultant to do design work. You have to authorize that contract so I can enter into agreement with consultant. Then if there's a contractor that has to come in and build the project, you guys I need a third authorization from council to hire the contractor to actually construct the project. So, and if you include the initial, part of the capital budget, it's actually 4 resolutions or 4 times that council gets a shot at a project.
and that's
Or
just,
just fill.
and then multiply that by the whole entire DRI project. We'll see how that goes, right? Go on to the next one.
I mean, that's part of a bigger project. That's,
I,
the
Yeah, the whole-
entire area between Broad, Main and Gum.
Yeah.
That will all be treated as one.
for the purpose of entering the agreements.
Yeah.
The next one, because Jim wants to talk about linear parking signs. We brought up, we did Dexter today, it was on the council when it passed, 79 feet. So this is the Grove Street one. So this is a picture of a vehicle. This one moved far enough away from the curb so people probably didn't hit his car as they came off of Grove Place. But because of that, he got too close to the hydrant and the police department did issue a ticket because the resident, after he took the picture, did call the police issued the ticket. But if this car moves back, I drew some dotted lines, you want to pass it around. If the car moved back to where those dotted lines are, so he can clear the fire hydrant, he would be so close to the curb that when you come off of Grove Place and make the right-hand turn, you can't see the oncoming traffic, presents a problem in the morning, you got all the traffic from Donut Craze coming down Grove Street. You're then going to make the turn off of Grove Place. So the request was just to have a no standing here at corner 38 feet. This way it would be from the apron to the corner, simple thing. Yeah.
There's a horrible echo coming from there. Can you fix that?
Yep, sorry about that.
Great one.
Continue? Okay, so that is it for the Grove Street one. It's nothing special, just like Dexter. City clerk did publish already for me. So I'm maybe get it on July 1st resolution.
How can you publish? The council never talked about it. I
The-
mean,
Publish?
yes, you need a majority vote to publish that.
Is that, Mike, is that true?
Council has to authorize publication.
Yeah, there's
You-
costs involved.
Expenditure.
I told him to publish it, he published it, and he spent it. I have an email from the city attorney that says to move forward with a resolution like that and ask the city clerk to do the publication.
You can't. There has to be a poll taken by the council to make sure that there's a majority that's in agreement with publishing that notice.
I went forward based on the legal advice I was given by the city attorney, I can forward you the email if you like, and then we'll
No, I
republish
tell
that,
you that ordinances had to be published before they could be.
or I can write the resolution for
But I
the.
can't
You
authorize.
don't have sole authority to say to the clerk, publish this. There's a cost involved.
I asked the clerk to publish it, the clerk published it,
That's incorrect.
we'll publish it a second time. If I have this, if I,
Mr. Clerk, moving forward, one
Yes.
council member cannot direct you to publish an ordinance. You have to have a majority of the council. And it has to be discussed in public because we're spending taxpayer dollars.
how much did it cost to publish that?
Approximately $30.
$30. So based on the guidance I was received from the city attorney, they spent $30 on a publication notice. So Mike, do we have to redo the publication notice now that I brought it to the council and we're all gonna agree to spend $30? Is
What's
it,
the date of the public hearing?
there's no public hearing required to put up a no standing sign.
When was the notice published?
I don't have that right in front of me, but I
Last
can look
Friday,
that
I
up.
believe. It'll been, not this Friday, but last Friday.
I have it from you.
Did we re-
I have it.
You do. it wouldn't have to be republished, you could do a resolution now affirming the publication, but in the notice, you gotta put down when the council's gonna act on it.
That's correct, on July, I believe we said July first, correct?
I think you're correct.
We can, if you want a brace, we'll hold up. We'll find it. Are you looking, Mario?
Yes, I am.
You send a notice of the publication to the council?
Yes. Fifty-one Grove Street.
Traffic and safety discuss this,
Nope.
Mr. Schuster? When's the next traffic and safety meeting? Was it sent to traffic and safety?
Nope. I sent you the request on June seventh. I don't know what you would have after that.
The council met after June seventh, you didn't bring it up then?
Oh, yeah, we did. When did we meet?
Oh, sorry.
What the third? Third was the meeting.
You sent it to
I
seven.
sent it to Mario on the seventh, like, can you publish this so I can get it onto the July first resolutions? And I said I would discuss it here on July 17th, on June 17th, today's June 17th, I'm discussing it, that's why I had this latest picture printed out, so we can all look at it. And I did that in guidance of the city attorney, as I was learning from the Dexter Street one, that the public hearing is not required to publish a no standing here reporter ordinance, it's only a publication. And a resolution.
Right.
That's what we said.
Okay, but you do understand, you can't authorize the clerk or direct the clerk to publish an ordinance without the majority of the council. You do understand that, correct?
So we have to have a resolution from the council to authorize the spending of $30?
No, we have to talk about it in public because we're expending taxpayer dollars. There could be
But that's-
four
that's
council
if there's a-
members that say
But
no.
that's
we
if
don't
there's,
want it.
but that's if there's a, right, and then I would still want it done, it's my word, and then they can vote no on it. So you're saying we
We
could,
wouldn't have.
so you're saying in theory, you could kill a resolution for moving forward just by killing the expenditure of the $30?
Yeah. We have to publish the ordinance.
Correct, which we did.
But you
But
had no
that's
direction to do
you
that.
can have,
I don't think any one council member has the ability on their own to authorize expenditure of city funds.
so how would we,
Regardless of the amount.
You don't.
well, wouldn't that be a de minimis amount, considering it,
Doesn't
$30
matter if it's $1.
well, no, because the de minimis amounts, like, for example, the
Doesn't
police
matter what
department.
it is.
They can't accept gifts, I believe that it's $15 or something on that threshold level, everything below that would be a de minimis amount. This is a $30 publication
Doesn't
to
matter.
have a resolution,
You don't have the authority to direct the clerk to publish an ordinance without the majority council approval. We're spending taxpayer dollars.
so how do I, what I'm saying to you is, what is the mechanism, of- if I'm not putting it in writing, if there's no resolution that I have in writing to the council, saying I need authorization to have the clerk spend $30 for a publication.
We
what
talked
is it?
about it in this venue. You say to the council, this issue has been brought up to my attention. I'm bypassing the traffic and safety. I'm publishing an ordinance. Is everybody in agreement? Here's the situation. And then
Usually the council is polled of whether or not they want to proceed with the resolution and the expenditure. That's the way it's normally been done.
correct.
But informal agreement among the council people at the table, that we're gonna publish the changes ordinance.
Correct.
You could do it by formal resolution or.
I could do a formal resolution, just even ask for the $30 to
Right.
publish the resolution.
Right,
Yeah, you
Good.
would, absolutely.
that's just, it's never been done that way. It's been more informal where they poll the council like on many other issues.
I guess I'm asking to poll the council now to spend the $30 retroactively to, do you know the date, Mario?
You can affirm the expenditure now by polling the council or formally.
It was it was somewhere between the week of June 9th and the 13th.
Well, I'd like to see the publication. I'm not gonna vote,
Well, I don't-
I'm not gonna pull on anything.
That
unless
would have,
there's a publication.
been,
How do you have validation that it was sent?
the publication was that?
Yeah,
So
did you see it?
No,
I did send it back to you.
did you?
Yeah.
I don't even, I didn't find the email, but I can look.
It was printed on the 10th of June. I could forward that to her.
Last Tuesday.
Because I forwarded you the city attorney's email. You go back. You forwarded it?
Yes, I did.
While we're waiting for that email to go through, is it going to continue or are you going to hold for the email?
Mr. Clark, we can poll council.
Sheasley,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Roundstrau.
Aye.
Mylum.
Aye.
Cook.
Nay.
Cruise nights on Thursday, Dave brought it up during the comment portion at the end of the meeting. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from the businesses, the neighbors, the residents. We're gonna have to look, at some point, we're gonna have a discussion about looking to amend that resolution and extending that permit every Thursday. What do you think?
I disagree,
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
strictly because, as the liaison to the police department and speaking with them, I think it's, and it's not diminishing the event because it's incredible. You know, and seeing everybody down there and it's just, I think we have to hold off until next year to make it every week. Just because I think we've got Canal Fest coming up, we've got all these other activities coming up where we're gonna need police presence. And they are understaffed, and I really do believe that, we have to pump the brakes on every week.
So they have one more left in June, then you would have one in July, skip Canal Fest in July. So if it was to go every week, it would probably by the time the permit got amended, it would be August, September. So it wouldn't be during Canal Fest, it would.
But the guys are, I'm not only worried about, say, the guys being there, I'm worried about the tax on them. Physically, mentally, after going through the overtime of Canal Fest, I'm worried about looking at. There's gonna be overtime for Canal Fest, there's gonna be overtime for the 4th of July, there's gonna be overtime. We really have to. I mean, we're talking about not spending $4,000 to keep somebody safe, but that overtime cost, I think. Is gonna add up, and I just, it's an awesome event. It's awesome, but maybe next year when. The department's fully staffed, it's more feasible to say, let's do it every week.
I was at both of that, both days, I think they're fantastic, but they went from 75 bikes to 85 bikes. And that was it, just that much of a jump. Let's make it grow first, that's not growing, that's just a halfway decent crowd, well behaved, and did a nice job. Let's make it grow first. Now, I talked to, I was a trustee there for many years, and talking to a few of the trustees, I mean, they're paying for the bands. They're paying for their liquor, they're paying for the insurance policy. There's no other contribution from any other business over there. So they've got to get a hard look at their Elks next meeting of, hey, as business people, how can we afford to get, we're breaking even. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, it's good to get the people out there. So let's let it happen first. Let all the things fall into place before you make that decision.
I just, my hope is that by next year, we have the department fully staffed, or whoever's sitting here has the department fully staffed. They're down 5 guys now. Like, I'm not against the event. I thought it was incredible. Like, and to have people actually call and say, way to go, Tonawanda, like, you don't hear that, you know, but I think it can also be said, this is the first year, come back next year for bigger and better.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
I like hearing it, I like hearing it. Moving on then, Civil Service Commission, we've always talked about wiping it out and having different conversations. Do we get any money from the Civil Service Commission from the school district?
Yes, yeah,
They pay half.
they
Salary.
have, yeah.
So the school district writes us a check and pay, oh, yeah, please.
It's all based on how many employees we have. So if we take the total employees that are hired within the city for, all sorts of services, including, the school district and ourselves. Let's say there's 100 for us and 100 for the school district. We got 200 employees total, you split it right down. If it was 50 school district employees, 150 hours, and you'd split it 20/75. So we file a report every year.
Okay.
With the Civil Service Commission statewide that has those breakdown of numbers, and then I pull the numbers from that and send it to the place.
But that's where but they do give us money, there is funding that comes from.
And it's allocated based on the number of civil service employees by the two entities.
And the reason why I bring that up was, Sean brought up a couple council meetings ago that civil service commissioners are like the civilian version of a judicial nominee, they're up there, and our civil service commissioners are appointed by the mayor, right?
But I gotta do Democrat, Republican, Conservative, I have to be,
So one of your civil service commissioners was recently elected to the school board. And to have a civil service commissioner that should be on the equivalent of a civilian judicial campaign. And be on the school board that we take money from, I think that presents a conflict of interest.
I can look into that. Thank you for bringing that up. I
Yeah.
look into it.
So you now have a newly elected school board member who's also appointed as a civil service commissioner, who's a civil service commission that's taking money from the school district they oversee. I think it's a conflict of interest and,
I thank you for bringing it to my attention, and I will definitely bring it, and take a look at it tomorrow. Okay.
and then, bikes. I got one for the police chief here. So today they picked up a bunch of bikes from the back of the police station. Is that right?
Yeah, the detective captain mentioned that,
Yeah, Wendy called. And
yeah.
what happened to those? Are those evidence? What are-
most all those bikes are ones that have been picked up by Ross.
So they're just abandoned property.
Abandoned property.
So what do we do with it? What did the police?
Typically, what we've been doing with them, for years now, we're turning over the DPW and disposal.
So I won't hold you to this. Is DPW still here? Is Dave out
I
there?
don't,
I won't hold you to it, but what do they do with it? They throw them out?
I think it's crime. I don't know how, if they take them to, cycling or. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Thank you. So, Mayor, what happened today was Wendy, Wendy Code, who runs the Wheels, 716 Wheels for Work, doesn't run it, she's an active volunteer for it. And she collects the bikes and donates them to this charitable organization that refurbishes them. I don't know how she got wind that they were taking these bikes from, these abandoned bikes from the police station, DPW was taking them and bringing them back to DPW. So she asked if she could have them and could donate them to 716 and either have 716 come here to pick them up, or she would physically remove them herself and then she would donate them herself. She did get some mixed information, but at the end, we figured out that what the police chief said is right there, they should be at the DPW now, awaiting. Whether, I don't know whether it's to go to the scrapyard or go to the landfill, I don't know where they're going. But why can't we donate those?
Well, I asked Captain Kirsten, and his response to me was, we donate them and they use them when somebody gets hurt because he's not a mechanic, bike mechanic. And something happens, they can come after us for donating a defective bike.
If they're donating them to a group that's fixing them up.
If you donate to a group that's fixing up bad, I don't see it, so use it for parts. So that's why they couldn't use it.
So two things with that is one, it has nothing to do with the police department. Because the police department said, I need these bikes out of here, DPW took them. So police is out. Okay. So now DPW has them, if there's a value to it. Like we had this, again, New York City issue, but the mechanics were taken out of the mechanic shop and they were throwing out, they would then go off of work and garbage pick it, scrap it, and then pocket the money, and they're basically stealing from the city. So if the city is taking these bikes and taking them to the scrapyard and the city's getting a check for $82 in scrap, do you know anything about, do we get scrap money ever back?
It's lumped into a bigger line.
So more than likely, these bikes aren't going to a scrap fund. 'Cause I don't think bikes scrap is where they, we get, that's a
This is
question,
the first
that's.
I've ever seen of a group like that laying out there, and I saw it when I drove in.
Well, the police department, I don't wanna speak for them, but someone will call and say there's a bike laying on my sidewalk, I've done it for 4 days, the police department picks it up, says abandoned bike, and they just store it, if there's no owner after a certain amount of time.
If it's junk, we leave it at the curb and advise DPW about picking up.
Yeah.
In a decent shape where somebody might,
So you saying that pile out there was basically junk then?
The tile.
Bikes that was out there behind
Well, they should have been bikes that were in halfway decent condition. They shouldn't all be junk, because our policy has been, if they're junk, where it's like, it's this, you know, you're looking at it, and the chain and everything's rusted on it. You leave it at the curb, or take it to the curb, contact DPW, they'll pick it up and take care of it.
And
I agree, Chris, if somebody can utilize it, use it for kids, that's good.
so Wendy brought up that she said if that's an issue, like you said originally, could be a liability, she would sign a waiver. She has no problem signing the waiver, releasing the city from all liability.
Those going to a reputable company who's gonna repair them.
That's correct, and then she could even, and then she also said that too, that if you want to prove that she wasn't keeping these and selling them on Craigslist herself, she can get a letter that says, I've received, you know, from this charitable organization, 716, it says, we've received 72 bikes, and then she can
From a
give you back
city
the letter.
standpoint, I wanna make sure they're not taking them and giving them away to somebody and utilize it, because that's not.
That's correct. So can she call your office tomorrow and have a conversation?
Yeah.
Because those bikes might still be at the DPW, and she would like to rescue those bikes before they end up either in a landfill or a scrapyard.
Absolutely.
Right, especially if we have a volunteer who's looking to do that.
You could probably have some helmets left over.
Yeah,
I've got into 3 or 4 organizations now, so.
Okay.
Boy Scouts, our Boys Club took a whole box of them, for they had an event on Friday, everybody knows about it, with the Franklin City Club. The 2 boxes, Chiefs taking them for the National Night Out, and I'm using it also for the Derby and also for the COT United States. We're going.
That is it for my list for tonight.
Mr. Rouse, you're up.
Following up on streetlights. Those are still no date yet.
They only come here a few times. They told me they ordered the parts.
I get asked, I'm asking.
I know, I understand.
You have to ask you.
I know you have to ask, and I always ask them, and
There's nothing we can do to speed along or.
there isn't, because they only come in because they get dispatched to all different areas. They're subcontractors for Nightcall. But what do you need? When I get that confirmed date, you're gonna be the first one that knows.
Appreciate it.
I have
A couple of quick things, Mike, to give an update on this, well, we received another contract back, didn't we?
On the Simmer Screen parcel, we got the contract back, we're reviewing the changes that they made, and hopefully that will be done very, very soon. They want a couple of the exhibits and they've changed some of the language, but we're looking at.
It's such a process, I never.
So Simmer Screen, the woodworking company is gonna buy that lot.
They're behind on Franklin. So it'll be exciting to have them take that whole lot over,
And
and
it came back on Monday.
beautiful. I saw it, I think we should be ready.
Right.
Perfect. The other thing is we're doing we are a Purple Heart community. We're putting up 2 signs, or probably gonna do another one, one's right by Vets, the right hand side by our our LED sign, saying, local city Tonawanda. So on the right hand side will be one, coming in on Main Street in Chris's ward, we're doing another one, right at one of the trees where there's no tree, or just a spot there. The signs can be erected, the poles will be erected tomorrow, and then Thursday, we're gonna put the sign up. So very beautiful, about this big, and it says, Purple Heart Community.
Oh, it's awesome.
I'm going with them. He invited me to go with him for this, the sign on Valley.
It's your word.
Thank you. But I'd like to ask this question because now I have to play devil's advocate. Did you clear it for traffic safety?
So what?
Exactly.
It's not a traffic sign.
I agree with you, but I'm just saying, I can't bring it up without someone saying, hey, what did traffic safety tell you? But everybody else can. You know, so like, I'm not,
It has
I
nothing to
agree
do
with
with
you, we're
traffic.
gonna take this photo,
It's
but
not an ordinance.
Yeah,
It's not.
it's not an ordinance.
it's a sign though. They want specific, do not block driveway is not an ordinance. It's an informational sign. Purple Heart Community is an informational sign. They are informational signs. Neither is do not block driveway. It's not a traffic sign, it's an informational.
Yeah,
sign.
but it's traffic.
I get it, but I'm just saying, every time I say anything about the word sign in it, it's like, where did traffic safety tell you? So, it just seems like a double standard.
I
with
think the
traffic
best
safety.
thing to do is you be on that committee instead of me.
And what do? I show up to traffic, and then they'll just tell me, they'll sit in the corner. They'll put me in the bathroom, like, what, show me, what do they?
That's why.
Mr. Rowan, anything?
Yeah, just there was a question about the last meeting and the adjournment. You guys adopt rules of procedure at the beginning of every council term. And the way the meeting was adjourned violated your own rules of procedure. So as a best practice for government, you should follow your own rules or suspend your rules, but you can't just change them.
What's the rule say for adjournment? Refresh me.
All council members have to speak.
All council members have to speak under your rules of procedure. If you wanted to not do that, you would have to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Does it say the mayor has to speak?
Mayor's a guest of the council.
Correct, that's what I was under the impression of,
So I
so,
guess she never tends to speak.
but that's because she gave you the chance to
But
speak before.
regardless
So in
of
theory,
whether or
you
not
should go
he's
last.
speaking, there is a procedure that you guys adopted that you should follow unless you suspend it.
Correct.
Well,
All right, thank you, Mr. Rowe.
that's it.
Okay, I received a letter from a resident on Hackett. I'm gonna forward it to traffic and safety for review. But, chief, can we put the trailer out, on Hackett? Yeah, the speed trailer. Their request. This resident stated that there's 100 cars that drive by, they're speeding, going upwards of 40 miles an hour. So he wanted that, looked at. And he asked if Hackett could be 25 miles an hour. So I'm gonna forward that over to traffic and safety for new business. Thank you for that. That's all I have. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mound. All those in favor?
We can do it by, we can go each waiver.
You said nay?
I did that.
You can sign a waiver.
Mr. Clerk, got that?
Okay.
Everything's being recorded, yes, ma'am.
Do a waiver.
We're gonna have this.
You'll sign a waiver on the and then get a receipt from the company that they got.
I'll make it.